My babysitter was showing me the other day these social media videos. I think they're on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, so I didn't know about them. Of people that got mainly cats who they would have them choose their name by having pieces of paper with different names and see which one the cat chose. They would have them choose other things like political affiliation or religion, etc., by putting different options on a piece of paper and seeing which paper the cat went to. And my babysitter had just gotten a cat and was going to do the same thing. But one of the aspects of the video that they showed me was of pronouns. They had pieces of paper with different pronouns on each piece of paper and then would see which one the cat would touch. And then those were the pronouns they'd use for the cat. After she showed it to me, I asked her, do you mind if I share with you how I feel about this? Because I have some feelings. And she said, "Of course, yeah, go ahead." And I said, "Well, I have 2 thoughts about the choosing the pronouns. The first part is that it's choosing the pronouns, and that's my issue. We don't choose our pronouns. Our pronouns are a word that symbolize a noun, and in this case, ourselves. And we are who we are. So our pronouns are who we are. It's not a choice. It's just this is what is in alignment with who I am." And so this joke makes it seem like a choice. And for that reason, that's not super comfortable for me. But the other reason I don't feel really comfortable watching this is because it makes it a joke. And for me, pronouns aren't a joke. Many people do not have the privilege of joking about pronouns. They are fighting for their right to be called who they are, and it's not a joke. They don't have that luxury. And so for that reason, I said, "Please do whatever you want, do what's comfortable for you. I just want to present that perspective to you, and I hope your cat lives a long, healthy life." So this is what I want to talk about today because my babysitter, along with many other people that I know, are very well-intentioned, supportive of the transgender non-binary community, and may not consider all perspectives or everything about when it's appropriate to make a joke and when it's not. And especially when it comes to pronouns, this is something I see frequently and what I want to talk about today because many times we may think, well, I'm well intentioned. Well, of course I'm supportive. You know, I'm supportive. So, what is the problem with me making a joke? So, let's talk about that. Because another common way I see this occurring is on social media with memes, or even if you go on LinkedIn, you can see it in people's pronouns or any social media that allows you to enter pronouns. Many times people are putting words in there as jokes. They may be 2 words that together create a phrase. I saw a meme one time. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was somehow talking about the little teapot. I'm like the little teapot. My pronouns are short and stout, or something along those lines. Whatever. I'm sure you've seen them. They've been all over the place and they come across my feed from time to time. One time it came up, the first time I think I saw it was some years ago. And the person that posted it thought it was very funny and they're supportive of the community and became a discussion where some people point out that's not funny. And other people were saying, take it easy. It's not the person who wrote it, but other people in the comments were saying, take it easy. It's just a joke. Lighten up. I want to point out the people that were saying, lighten up. It's just a joke. None of them that I know of, and some of them I know personally, are not transgender or non-binary, not gender diverse in any way. I give the person that posted the original thing credit that she said, "I'm appreciative of all the feedback. I never considered these perspectives. I'm going to take some time to think about it." Now, me personally, when I see these things, I tend to message the person individually. I don't think one way is right or wrong. You get to decide what's right for you. The good thing about people posting in the comments is it created a discussion and potentially more awareness for other people. My style is to personally talk to the person and say, "Hey, this is the way I look at it. Please do what's right for you. Just something to consider." And that's what I did. I pointed out that she had the luxury of making jokes about pronouns. but many people don't have that luxury. It does not feel good for people not to use the language, not to see you for who you are. And I think that's a universal experience, to be honest. It may not be around pronouns, but I think each of us probably, no always and nevers, but probably have experienced people making assumptions about us, assuming something about us, about our identity, about who we are, about what we believe in, about what we do, about how we act, all those things. And it never feels good, especially when that aspect that people are making incorrect assumptions about you is something really close to your heart, to who you are. And so that's the thing about pronouns. A pronoun, by definition, is a word that represents a noun. And in this case, that noun is a person. And so there are people not using the correct pronouns for them, whether intentionally or unintentionally. It doesn't feel good. And they're fighting for their survival. They're fighting to be able to be seen as their true selves, to have the world see them the way they see themselves. And it's not a joke. So that is the argument I give for, even if you're supportive and well intentioned, I don't think that's the place I would choose to make a joke. And I love a good joke, don't get me wrong. Humor is high value for me, but there's a time and place, and I don't like humor at the expense of another person. And I don't think the intention here is to be at the expense of another person, but yet it is. It is the expense of another person. It is at the expense of someone who isn't able to make jokes about it. The last place I often see jokes made about pronouns is when, in a group setting, people are asked to introduce themselves with their pronouns. I have two rules when it comes to being in a group and asking people to share their pronouns when they introduce themselves. The first rule is it's never mandatory. If you feel comfortable sharing your pronouns, please share them. We would like to honor everyone's pronouns and use them if you desire to share. If you don't desire to share, you don't have to announce it. You can introduce yourself without mentioning your pronouns. The second rule I have when I offer people to consider including their pronouns in their introduction is that I remind them this is not a joke. So if you're going to present your pronouns, it is out of respect that we understand we can't look at somebody and know what their pronouns are. And it's out of respect for those that may not have the privilege to be seen as themselves, to have people use the pronouns for them that are in alignment with them. Now, I just want to point out a lot of people make an assumption that this only affects transgender non binary people. And I can assure you it affects more than transgender non binary people. There are people of all identities that are misgendered for a variety of reasons. And it doesn't matter the reason, because a pronoun represents us, because our gender is one part, not all parts, but one part of who we are. It typically doesn't feel good. Not always and nevers. There's some people like, I get it, but it typically does not feel good. So I think it's important that if you offer for people to include their pronouns in their introductions in a group, to remind them that it is not a joke. So if they are going to do it with good intention for us all to understand that we can't look at somebody and know what their pronouns are, and you're offering it up so that we can respect you and your pronouns. Because what often happens without that comment is it gets to somebody and they say, well, of course I'm she, her, right? There's something like that where it's ha ha ha, it's a joke. But again, it brings up you have that privilege that you are seen as your true self. And not everybody shares that privilege. That's why we do this. We don't do this because it's a joke. We do this to honor people and to see people and let them tell us who they are. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I love a joke like everybody else. And I want to offer, I want you to consider, because at the end of the day, it's your choice, your values, your priorities. But I want you to consider that pronouns is not a place for humor because pronouns matter.